live right this moment, and I'm going to minimize my, yes, hello everyone. I am Judy
Hello.
Herman, and this is my awesome soul sister friend, Regina Hall. And come to find
Hello.
out, we were both speakers for the Women's Summit on March the 6th. So if you've not seen the replay or you didn't catch that, that's going to go in the comments. So make sure that you catch that. But Regina and I discovered, goodness, there's a whole lot more in common than we actually realized that we had. She lives in the state I used to live in. Go ahead, Regina, and share who you are and who you help.
My name is Regina Hall. I like to be known as the #1 Exhale transformational speaker, trainer, and coach. I help women to breathe. I speak life to women who are struggling in their lives, careers, and spiritual journey to move from the past to the present, to level up their minds, to embrace themselves. And I love being known as the #1 Exhale, which I know
Yeah.
we have that in common as well.
We do, because
Yes.
those who have been following me know that I use this acronym of breathing in fresh air,
Yes.
awareness and intentionality and risk. And here we are, both transformational. Well, you're a coach, but you're also a therapist. So like, this is so cool. I want to tell my folks that are tuning in, some people come into counseling and they have this stereotype about counselors. Some people come in and they may have had a negative attitude about counselors, but the reality is, like, some of us as counselors, we have to go through so many, we have to jump through so many hoops and cross all our T's, dot all our I's, go through ethics and go through all of these things that it might squelch
Yes.
who we really are. So this is so cool, Regina. You're a therapist licensed in the state of Michigan, where I used to live. I used to live in Kalamazoo, Michigan. So if any of my friends
All
from
right.
Kalamazoo, Michigan
Yes.
are watching,
Yes.
hey, that's
Michiganians.
where I'm from. But here she is coming out of the woodwork as a counselor, like I have also. And you have a powerful message. So anyway, this is so cool that you're on,
Well,
because
thank you. Thank
even
you for having me, Judy.
that counselors are real people.
Yes, very much so. Isn't that something?
I don't know if it's true with you, Regina, but some people come into counseling too, and they think that we've arrived. Well, we've not arrived. We're on this journey, right? We take our own.
Yes.
So anyway, I just wanted folks to meet you and see you.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
in this
Thank
role
you.
too, right? By the way,
Yes.
people know, I'm just getting this a disclaimer, because I was kind of fearful. Every time we go to an ethics, like we had to get our what you call continuing education units, and you go through an ethics course. I don't know if you feel this way, Regina, but it's kind of like you come out very paranoid. I
I
don't
think you
know. That might
can.
just be me, but all I'm saying, and give a disclosure, this is not a substitute for professional counseling services, even though
Oh,
you got two
correct.
therapists
Yes.
on the screen here. But we have met through the Power Voice program. Legendary Les Brown is on
Yes.
board. Oh my gosh. Okay. But anyway, whatever. I'm talking way too much. Your speech was extremely powerful. And the first time I
Thank
heard
you.
it, Regina, before I knew that you were a therapist, because I didn't know. I thought I was the only therapist in the little group that we were in. And I
Uh-huh.
thought, man, this woman's gotten some good therapy. Either that or she's had a great therapist. Then I found out she was a therapist.
Right.
It's one to
Yes. Yes. Yes.
one.
Yes. Well, in my speech, I include cognitive behavioral therapy when you think about negative thinking. As you know, it's stated that the average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. And of those thousands of thoughts we have, 80% of them are negative and 95% of them are repetitive. And I thought that was really important to make sure that that was a part of my speech, because oftentimes we grab those thoughts and we think that they're ours, but our thoughts come from various places, right? They come from family, environment, they come from us. And most of the time it's us uh, taking in whatever was the external into our internal, right? And
Yes.
so it's very important that I share that, because I consider myself to be a speaker and a trainer, but also a teacher. So it's very important that I'm teaching along the way. That's
Yeah,
important for me.
you're an amazing teacher. And yes, I think there were so many nuggets and takeaways. And I don't know if you still have that resource on your website, but you could
I
probably
do.
yeah,
I
tell
do.
folks what that resource is.
Yeah, so the resource is the 15 styles of distorted thinking, and it can go on my website, reginachall.com, and just apply, just click on it, and they can get those 15 distorted thinking. And really, one of the, well, two that I pointed out that I wrestled with was the comparison, which I believe that that's a huge one that a lot of people can wrestle with. As a matter of fact, I was speaking with a friend the other day, and she was just sharing with me. Those are conversations I try not to engage in anymore, but she was just sharing with me how I would, braid my daughter's hair, and how that was a struggle, for her. And I just listened to her, and then I moved to, yeah, but you did a beautiful job in making sure that your daughter hair was always done. We don't have to do it alike, right? We can just make sure that if something is important to us, that we get it done, or we can learn from that individual who has that skill. So I try not to engage in those conversations in a way that I'm comparing myself to other people, because one of the things about comparison, you either above the person or below the person. You never equal, right? So it does you no good. The
Yeah.
other one that I talk about is personalization. That's when you think the actions of someone else is the reaction of something that you've said or done, right? But how can you be responsible for every action? And that was one of the things that I struggle with. Did I do that? Did I say that? Are we okay? And it reminded me of Steve Urkel, and I'm dating myself here on Family Matters, when he would say, "Did I do that?" That's really how I felt. So I really understood what Steve Urkel was in that. Even though it appeared that Steve Urkel was doing a lot of that, I felt like it was a real uh, image of how we can do things and actually not doing them at all. So those were the two that I engaged in. Of course, there's more, but I felt like those were prominent, and I wanted to tackle. And like you said, we are on a journey.
We
So
are.
I'm not uh as you alluded to earlier, right? I'm not
Yeah.
done. I'm not good and done. Even
Right.
though
Yes.
that's the way we see life, right? We think that
Yeah.
once we go through something, we're done. We're
Yeah.
not. Life is growth.
Absolutely. And as a family systems therapist,
Okay.
I see that, we all have been groomed to a certain extent. So if you are in relationship, and that's why I wrote my book, Beyond Messy Relationships, Divine Invitations to Your Authentic Self. But what happens a lot of
I
times,
love
it's
that.
not just our stinking thinking, as, some have termed, but it's what is mirrored back to us, right? So if you
Yes,
are
yes.
constantly in a significant relationship, or if your spouse is constantly blaming you for the things that only they are responsible for, and you soak that up. But most of the time, you're groomed from years before, even as a small child. Actually, you're groomed even in your DNA with, as we know now from a term called neurogenesis, in which previous generations, for example, if great 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 grandmother was in the midst of a famine and they had to really conserve food, and they were, had all this anxiety around that, you might be several generations passed down, where you have these genes in which everything you eat, you gain weight and you have weight problems. So it's not just you. And that's what I really like to let people know, when they come in for counseling, it's not just them. It's likely been
Right.
passed down, but we raise our level of awareness, right? And I
Yes,
think that's a
yes.
beautiful thing. So using this acronym, raising awareness, Regina, and I know that you've had your own personal journey. I don't know if in just a very short sentence you can share with our folks what brought you to a point where you have this courage, risk, and this is part of our AIR acronym: awareness, intentionality, and risk. What brought you to the point where you risked speaking out on March the 6th? We're talking to thousands of people on Les Brown's platform.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what caused me to risk it is that I was
Yeah.
already, what you shared, I was already speaking and training and doing things, and that made me want to take it to the next level. And I felt that Les Brown is a great coach. And it's my signature story. I talk about the sexual abuse that I had suffered at the hands of a next door neighbor. And really what I don't share is that neither of my parents believed me. So it was a long suffering for me of thinking that I was a liar, and just all the things that I took in from that not being appropriately dealt with. So for me, it was like the Lord really got me to the stage to be able to speak. Not that I didn't have fears, because of my healing and because of the constant growth. I keep encouraging myself to do it afraid.
Thank you so much for sharing this, because, and from what you had shared of your story, it happened at the age of 10. Oh my goodness, that is like a tender age. And so it's so good that if that has happened to you, make sure you go to a therapist and work through that, because you are some folks that are going through this, they're raising their sons and daughters. And the more, if I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Siegel's book, The Whole Brain Child, but the more that you are really, your narrative of your own story, then the better, and the more that is a life-giving healing story, because things happen in our childhood and our brains are not even fully online until our mid-20s. And then we have a lot of times I've noticed just in my own counseling and also my own life, it's like when you're in your early 30s is when you have these aha moments. Well, it's probably because things are connecting in ways that they didn't then. So it's so very important to reframe. You can't go back, but we want to rid ourselves of as much shame and be able to reframe from the perspective of an adult that can actually hold that young child that was violated. And that makes you a better parent, and you'll be able to have the freedom. And even if it just is you and your therapist, I didn't intend to go in this direction, but I think somebody needs to hear this today, Regina. So thank you so much for sharing this.
Oh, sure. And, one of the things we have to understand that people are hurting. Women are in deep pain, dealing with various situations, relationships, the messy relationships, don't really know why they're not discovering the love that they feel or believe that others have discovered. And a lot of times it's because we haven't dealt with things in us. But at the same time, people are messy, right?
You know what?
on either side. See, that's it. People are messy. So you have to. You have to.
The human journey, is filled with messiness and struggles. And actually, it was in the messiness in which we were even birthed in the first place.
Exactly.
And we do have a purpose in our lives. And God has designed us in ways to give and to receive love. So I think we're so much on this same framework here. I love it, Regina. What is one thing that you would want people to walk away with today? And I worded it in such a way where, what is one thing that you could share that they could do as their next right step to take in these deep breaths of air, awareness?
Yes, I felt that. Thank you. For me, the exhale is really understanding that we take 6 breaths per minute. We take 200 and I believe 260 breaths per hour, and 23,040 breaths a day. So that gives us the opportunity to move into opportunities, to breathe fresh life. And what I would like to leave is that we have to get unstuck. We have to let go of the former things, forget the things of the past. New life is springing up, every day. God's mercies are new every day. And we can move forward into what I like to call our milk and honey. There is milk and honey on the other side. And you can allow your valley of depression, which I was in, anxiety, unforgiveness, you can allow that to be the lessons that help you to move forward into your purpose. And so that's what I would leave, that life is about letting go and moving forward. And that's hard. Let me just say that it's nothing easy about what I just said, but with God, all things are possible.
I so wholeheartedly agree. And, you know, so a lot of people are just so fearful of like crying and thinking that it's not going to stop, or feeling the sadness and thinking it's going to go into this spiral of depression. And that's why a therapist can help you through this, because I believe God has designed our emotions to flow in this rhythm of dance, because life is that. Life is a flow. So let's take the deep breaths, because that does, you know, this, it slows down the nervous system, and it helps you to, you know, breathe all that out, but find meaning in it that's life. And a coach or a therapist can really help with that. Oh, Regina, thank you so much. So people can find you at reginachall.com.
Yep, reginachall.com. Yep, they can go to my website and look around. I have some new things going on. Just did some redesigns. So look around and subscribe to my newsletter. I have some upcoming masterminds, as well as some summits, some other summits that I'm going to be involved in, and conferences. So I would love for your audience to connect.
Absolutely. And I really want to encourage you, if you're watching this and this resonates, if this resonates in your heart, please like and share and comment. Don't keep it to yourself, because so many other people can benefit. And I'm Judy Herman, author of Beyond Messy Relationships. Now, do you have your book out yet, Regina?
I do. My book is called Mommy, I Need You, No More Stains.
Ooh. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad I asked. I'm so glad I asked. Can they get it on Amazon or through your website?
They can go on Amazon and on my website. Both.
All right. And
Mommy, I Need You.
Leave the link in the comments as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.